Imagine a bridge, like spanning a really massive river in a major metropolitan city.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Right. But it doesn't just, hold the weight of your car.
Oh, right.
As you drive across it during the morning commute, this bridge actually senses the collective anxiety of the drivers.
Wow.
Yeah, like the tension in the steering wheels, the erratic acceleration, all of that.
The rush hour panic.
Exactly. And then it subtly alters its own acoustic frequencies to project like a calming resonance back into the cars.
That sounds completely wild.
It does, right. It physically flexes to absorb all that frantic kinetic energy and translates it into this stabilizing force. I mean, it sounds like pure science fiction.
Totally.
But what if I told you the blueprint for that exact kind of structural empathy has already been written?
Wait, really?
Yeah. And not by a civil engineer looking at a CAD model, but by a philosopher looking at a microscopic, invisible sheet of carbon.
Which is just, I mean, it forces a complete reassessment of what a material is actually supposed to do. Because we've spent centuries, treating the physical stuff of our world, wood, steel, concrete, as basically mute dead matter.
Right, just stuff we use.
Exactly. We impose our will onto it, we cut it, we burn it, we pour it into molds. But the text we are looking at today argues that this one-directional relationship is actually the root cause of our societal stagnation.
So today we are doing a deep dive into an incredibly provocative document from the year 2025.
Yes.
It's called The Manifesto of Graphenosophy, a departure into a new reality.
Originally written in German, right?
Yep, originally in German. And it takes graphene, which is essentially a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in this hexagonal lattice, and elevates it from a laboratory curiosity into an entire philosophical movement.
And what's really striking, the language of this manifesto is so deliberate.
Oh, completely.
It's totally stripped of academic jargon, but it maintains this fierce, almost poetic intensity.
Yeah, it doesn't read like an engineering manual at all.
Not even a little bit. There's no detailing of tensile strength or like electrical conductivity. It reads like a societal intervention.
You're right.
It's basically an attempt to articulate a whole way of life, a methodology for human interaction, derived entirely from the physical properties of a carbon lattice.
Okay, let's unpack this, because how does a physical material inspire a philosophical manifesto?
It's a big leap.
It's a huge leap, because we all know the science hype around graphene.
Right, the miracle material.
Exactly. It's incredibly light. It's hundreds of times stronger than steel. It conducts electricity and heat with almost zero resistance.
Yeah.
But usually we just get technical spec sheets for miracle materials. We don't derive a moral framework from a sheet of aluminum.
No, you definitely don't.
We don't look at a block of cement and say, yes, this tells me exactly how to restructure the education system.
Well, what's fascinating here is that the manifesto explicitly rejects that division.
The division between technology and philosophy.
Exactly. They're positing a theory of material determinism.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, throughout history, the dominant material of an era hasn't just dictated what people could build, it actually dictated how they thought.
Oh, wow.
Like, think about iron. Iron is heavy, it's rigid, and it requires these massive, centralized furnaces to forge. Right?
Yeah, you need a whole factory.
Right. Consequently, the Industrial Revolution built societies that were heavy, rigid, and required massive centralized labor forces.
It mirrors the material.
Exactly. And then look at silicon. Silicon is binary, it's microscopic, and it processes these discrete packets of logic.
Ones and zeros.
Yes. And consequently, the Silicon Age built a society obsessed with binary thinking, compartmentalization, and, algorithmic logic.
That implies we're completely trapped by our own tools.
That's exactly the argument.
If our materials are rigid, our bureaucracies become rigid.
Yeah.
Like, we live in concrete boxes, we stare at glass screens, we drive in these heavy steel cages, and then we sit around wondering why we feel so isolated and inflexible.
Right. And the manifesto argues that graphene breaks that historical chain.
Because it's so different.
Because when you introduce a material with properties that border on the miraculous, something that is, practically invisible, hyperflexible, structurally invincible, and universally conductive, it forces a shift in human consciousness.
You literally can't build the old way anymore.
Exactly. You can't build a rigid, centralized, heavy society out of a material that naturally wants to be light, decentralized, and hyperconnective.
The material becomes a metaphor.
And the metaphor becomes a methodology for living.
I love that. So for you listening right now, just Think about the materials surrounding you at this exact moment.
Yeah, take a look around.
Do the plastic keyboard or the drywall or the synthetic fibers in your chair inspire your personal philosophy on life?
Probably not.
Right, they're functional, sure,
Mm.
but they don't demand a higher standard of existence from you.
No, they just exist.
But this document argues that graphene should. So let's look at how they actually build this argument, starting with the very first declarations in Tenets 1 and 2.
Right, the foundation.
The text immediately hits you with this bold statement that says, it is not an idea of the future, it is the present.
And grounding the philosophy in the present tense is such a crucial rhetorical move here.
Because it's always been the material of tomorrow, right?
Exactly. For the last 20 years, graphene has been perpetual vaporware. It was always 5 years away from commercial viability.
Always just over the horizon.
Right. So by declaring that it is the present, the manifesto removes the excuse of waiting for the right moment.
It demands action now.
Yes, immediate psychological engagement. But then it goes much deeper. It defines graphene through this very specific triad.
Right, I have it here. Substance, intelligence, resonance.
Yes.
Okay, I need to stop you there because my brain is totally rejecting the second word of that triad. Yeah. Substance, I understand. It's physical matter. Resonance, well, we can explore that in a minute. But intelligence...
It sounds a bit sci-fi, I know.
Calling a microscopic piece of carbon intelligent feels like anthropomorphism gone completely wild.
Right.
Is the text genuinely suggesting this material can think? Or, is it trying to fundamentally change our definition of what intelligence actually is?
It is absolutely trying to redefine intelligence. It's pulling it far away from the purely computational model we've become so obsessed with.
Okay. How so?
Well, we usually define intelligence as cognitive processing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what a biological brain does or
Right.
what a semiconductor simulates.
Right. Solving math problems, remembering things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there is this concept in biology and advanced material science called morphological intelligence.
Morphological intelligence.
Yeah. Think of a sunflower turning his face to track the sun across the sky.
Okay.
The sunflower doesn't have a brain. It doesn't calculate the trajectory of the sun using geometry.
Right. It's just reacting.
But it has an embedded structural intelligence that allows it to interact optimally with its environment. Its physical form is its intelligence.
Oh, wow. So the intelligence isn't in some centralized processor up top.
No.
It's distributed throughout the physical structure itself.
Precisely the point. And graphene, at the atomic level, behaves in ways that almost seem to anticipate energy flows.
Because of the hexagonal shape?
Yes. Because of its perfectly symmetrical hexagonal lattice, electrons move through it as if they have absolutely no mass.
That's wild.
It routes thermal and electrical energy with an elegance that perfectly mimics a highly optimized neural network.
So it's not thinking, it's...
The manifesto is asking us to recognize this elegant, perfectly adapted relationship between a structure and its environment as a profound form of intelligence.
Okay, I see.
Intelligence isn't just calculation, it is the capacity for frictionless adaptation.
Frictionless adaptation. That's a great phrase. Which really leads right into the poetic pairings they make next.
Yes, the virtues.
They take these physical traits of graphene and just pair them directly with human virtues.
Right.
The text says the material is light as light, strong as the will, conductive as hope.
Conductive as hope.
Let's look at the mechanics of that last one, because that is a massive leap from physics to pure emotion.
It is, but let's map the physics onto the sociology here.
Okay, let's do it.
In physics, conductivity is simply the measure of how easily an electrical charge or heat can pass through a material.
Right, and most materials resist this flow, yeah.
Exactly. They cause friction, which basically loses energy as heat. Copper is a good conductor, obviously, but even copper has resistance.
Right.
Graphene has almost zero resistance at room temperature. Now, consider the human experience of hope.
Okay.
Hope is not just a solitary emotion. It is an energy that has to move through a society. It is an idea that passes from person to person.
Oh, I see where you're going. But when hope meets resistance like cynicism, systemic barriers, fear, endless bureaucratic red tape, it dissipates. It loses its energy, just like electricity traveling through a bad conductor.
Exactly.
It just bleeds out as exhausted heat. People get burned out.
That is the perfect analogy. And the manifesto suggests that if we can engineer a physical material that conducts energy without loss, we must also engineer a social structure that conducts human aspiration without loss.
Wow.
By calling it conductive as hope, they are stating that hope, in its purest form, should flow without friction.
It elevates the material from a passive building block to like an active participant in our moral evolution.
Yes, it's treating the physical foundation of our world as a manifestation of pure optimism.
That is beautiful. But this brings us to Tenet 2, where they define the actual practice of this philosophy.
Right. What do we actually do with it?
The text says graphenosophy is the art of thinking with graphene. Not thinking about it, but thinking with it.
Yes, with is the key word there.
It goes on. We shape not only new materials, we shape new possibilities. We connect the visible with the tangible, the technological with the philosophical, the real with the utopian.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the use of the word utopian here is incredibly risky for any serious manifesto.
Oh, absolutely.
Because in modern geopolitical and philosophical discourse, utopian is basically an insult.
Right. It implies extreme naivety.
Exactly. It implies a fictional, impossible place that fundamentally misunderstands human nature. I mean, Sir Thomas More coined the word from Greek roots, literally meaning no place.
Yeah, if you call a politician or a tech CEO utopian, you are politely calling them completely delusional.
Right, you're saying they don't understand the gritty reality of the real world.
But the authors of Graphenosophy lean into it entirely.
They do. They claim this philosophy is the bridge that connects the great reality directly to the utopian.
Which is a huge claim.
It is, but their justification for this bold claim lies in the actual history of graphene itself.
Okay, tell me about that history.
Because graphene used to be considered theoretically impossible. For decades, the greatest minds in physics believed a strictly two-dimensional crystalline structure could not exist in reality.
The math didn't work.
The math suggested it would be thermodynamically unstable, like it would just melt or instantly roll up into a nanotube.
So it's just a theory.
It was a literally utopian material, something that could exist in an equation, but not in the real world.
And then the reality caught up to the equation.
Exactly.
In 2004, these two scientists at the University of Manchester isolated it using a block of graphite and regular household Scotch tape.
Just Scotch tape.
They literally peeled the impossible into reality. They proved the established laws of thermodynamics were incomplete.
So when the manifesto states it connects the real with the utopian, it is using the empirical history of its own namesake material as proof.
Well, that's incredibly clever.
Right. If a physical structure that supposedly violated the laws of physics can be isolated with literal Scotch tape, then a societal structure that supposedly violates the laws of human nature might just require a different kind of engineering.
The impossible is just an engineering problem we haven't solved yet.
Exactly.
Well, let's focus on that engineering problem because the triad mentioned resonance, and the text repeatedly talks about the city of resonances.
Yes.
I really want to understand the mechanical reality of this. When I hear resonance, my mind goes straight to acoustics.
Naturally.
You strike a tuning fork, and a guitar string across the room just starts vibrating spontaneously because they share the same natural frequency.
Right.
It's this totally invisible transfer of energy.
And that acoustic phenomenon is actually the perfect mechanical model for the philosophical concept they're talking about.
Okay, how so?
In contemporary sociology, there is a prominent thinker named Hartmut Rosa who developed a comprehensive theory of resonance.
Hartmut Rosa, okay.
Rosa argues that the defining crisis of modern life is alienation. We have built this incredibly efficient, fast-paced world, but it is a profoundly mute world.
A mute world.
Yeah. We yell into the void of social media. We walk through these concrete urban canyons. We work in standardized cubicles, and the world does not vibrate back.
Wow.
We do not feel deeply connected or responsive to our environment.
So we're constantly striking the tuning fork, but nothing in the room is built to catch the frequency.
Exactly.
It's just dead air. Everything absorbs the sound instead of amplifying it.
And the manifesto argues that this alienation is an architectural and material failure, just as much as a psychological one.
Because of the materials we use.
Yes. Heavy, opaque, rigid materials naturally foster heavy, opaque, rigid mindsets. They insulate us from each other.
Right.
But if we build our physical infrastructure and our social systems with the lightweight, hyperconnective philosophy of graphene, the environment ceases to be a mute container.
It vibrates back.
It becomes a resonant body.
That forces a huge transition into the second section of the text, covering tenets 3, 4, and 5.
Moving from the abstract to the practical.
Exactly. Because it is one thing to philosophize about acoustic vibrations and utopian carbon lattices, but how does this manifesto suggest we actually put shovels in the ground?
How do we build the city of resonances?
Right, how do we build this? They outline what we could call the architecture of longing. And Tenet 3 introduces a concept called the energy of wishes.
And this transition from the what to the how requires a total inversion of how we normally design things.
Okay, Tenet 3 reads, "We believe in the energy of wishes. Every wish is an impulse, every impulse a glimmer of another reality. Graphenosophy recognizes these wishes and weaves them into the substance of change."
It's poetic, but it has real structural implications.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Go for it.
The energy of wishes, that sounds like something straight out of a Disney fairy tale.
It does.
It sounds like esoteric magic, not a manifesto based on advanced material science. Like, how do you measure a wish?
Right.
How does an urban planner zone a city block based on a glimmer of another reality?
It seems purely esoteric until you view it through the lens of potential energy.
Potential energy, okay.
A wish, in a sociological sense, is simply the cognitive gap between what currently exists and what could exist.
The gap between reality and the utopian.
Yes, it is a psychological voltage. In physics, when you have a difference in electrical potential, you generate a current.
Okay.
The authors are positing that human desire, like the collective wish for a more sustainable, equitable, connected world, is an actual measurable force. It dictates where attention, capital, and labor physically flow.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So a wish isn't just like passively hoping something gets better while you sit on the couch.
Oh, it's active.
It's an energetic impulse that actually initiates structural movement.
Exactly.
But Tenet 4 is where they explain exactly what they are building with this energy. It says, "We create spaces beyond the old, the city of resonances, the universe space, the new ecology of connection. All this arises not out of necessity, but out of longing."
This is the crux of the entire manifesto right here.
Really?
Yes. The linguistic distinction here is paramount to understanding the whole thing. In the original German text, the words used are not, which translates roughly to necessity, distress, or survival,
Okay.
and Sehnsucht, which is this profoundly deep German word for longing, yearning, or an intense desire for an idealized alternative.
So not versus Sehnsucht.
Exactly. And we have built almost every piece of human infrastructure out of necessity.
Yeah, that's true. We build walls because we need to keep invaders out.
Yeah.
We build sewer systems because we desperately need to stop cholera.
Exactly.
We build those ugly, brutalist apartment blocks because we need to warehouse a huge labor force near a factory.
All of that is driven by the baseline metrics of survival and efficiency.
Just keeping people alive.
But when you design purely for necessity, your structural ceiling is merely the absence of suffering.
Wow.
Once the rain is kept off your head, the design stops.
That's a profound way to look at it.
But if you design a space from a starting point of longing from Sehnsucht, the metrics completely change. The goal is no longer near survival, it is absolute flourishing.
Let's ground this in a historical example to see how changing a material constraint actually changes the psychological design of a city.
Let's do it.
Think about the invention of the safety elevator by Elisha Otis back in the 1850s.
Oh, this is a great example.
Right. Before the elevator, the highest floors of a building, what we now call the penthouses, were the least desirable.
They were awful.
They were the cheapest, usually reserved for servants or the poorest tenants, simply because you had to walk up 6 huge flights of stairs.
Right. The rich lived on the first or second floor out of necessity.
Exactly. It was a hierarchy built entirely on the physical limitations of the human body facing gravity.
The physical limitation literally created the social structure.
Exactly. Then Otis invents a mechanical braking system, a new technology.
Right.
Suddenly, the limitation of gravity is bypassed, and what happens? The entire social hierarchy of the city flips upside down.
It inverts completely.
The penthouse becomes the most expensive, luxurious real estate on Earth because the focus shifted from the necessity of avoiding stairs to the longing for a beautiful view, for sunlight, for separation from the noise of the street.
Yes.
A single mechanical intervention fundamentally altered the psychological geography of urban living.
That is a brilliant parallel. And the manifesto is arguing that graphene and the suite of advanced technologies it enables acts as the new elevator.
It breaks the old constraints.
Yes. It removes the baseline physical constraints of weight, conductivity, and structural integrity that have kept us basically building for necessity.
Right.
If a wall no longer needs to be a foot thick of concrete just to support the roof, what else can it be?
Can it harvest kinetic energy from the wind?
Exactly. Can it act as a transparent membrane that filters pollutants while amplifying natural light?
Which brings us perfectly to tenet 5.
Right.
The text says, we build with meaning. Whether houses, networks, clothing, or thoughts, everything we create is permeated by responsibility, beauty, and consciousness.
Consciousness.
Now, I want to push back pretty hard on this one.
Okay, push back.
I understand building a house with beauty. I get that. I understand an energy network built with responsibility.
Sure.
But how do you build clothing with consciousness? I mean, my cotton t-shirt does not have a conscious mind.
No, it doesn't.
Are we talking about embedding AI into everything we wear? Because that sounds intrusive.
Embedding sensors is definitely part of the technological reality, but the consciousness referred to here isn't about the garment possessing, like, self-awareness.
Okay, good.
It's about systemic awareness. Consider a fast fashion t-shirt built from necessity, and in this case, the necessity to generate maximum corporate profit by clothing bodies as cheaply as humanly possible.
Right, the typical $5 shirt.
The garment is structurally unconscious.
Because it ignores the real cost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It ignores the toxic dyes polluting rivers downstream from the factory. It completely ignores the exploitation of the labor that sewed it. And it ignores the landfill it will inevitably end up in after, like, 3 washes.
It is entirely blind to its own existence within the ecosystem.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
So a graphenosophic garment built out of longing would have to be structurally aware of its entire life cycle.
Right.
Woven with graphene-based smart textiles, sure, the garment could harvest your body heat to power biosensors that monitor your health.
Which is cool tech.
It is, but more importantly, the consciousness extends to its origin and its end. It is designed within a fully closed-loop ecosystem. It knows where it came from, it actively contributes to the wearer's well-being while in use, and it is designed to cleanly decompose or be endlessly recycled. That is a conscious material.
Okay, that makes sense. But let me ask the uncomfortable question here, the sort of dark side of this utopian vision.
There's always a dark side.
If we are replacing the strict objective rules of necessity with the subjective impulses of longing and wishes, whose longing gets priority? Because if my deepest wish, my personal resonance, is found in absolute silence and isolation, but your longing is for, like, loud, vibrant, communal celebration.
I have a problem.
Exactly. How does the city of resonances handle that clash? Because in the old world, we just use zoning laws, which is a necessity to separate us.
Right.
If we build purely on longing, isn't there a risk of massive dissonance?
That is the ultimate vulnerability of any utopian framework, and it's a vital critique.
Yeah.
If a society is built on rigid materials, concrete walls, rigid laws clashes are solved by segregation. You build a wall between the quiet zone and the loud zone.
Residential versus commercial.
Exactly. But the graphenosophic answer relies on the material's adaptability.
Okay.
Graphene is not static. A structure built with graphenosophic principles wouldn't be a fixed shape.
Think of programmable matter.
Programmable matter. Yeah. A space that dynamically alters its acoustic dampening properties based on the biometric feedback of the people inside it.
Oh. So the environment actually mediates the dissonance in real time.
Yes.
If I walk into the room, the walls physically adjust to dampen sound, but then when I leave, they open up to amplify your music.
Right.
The material itself negotiates the conflicting longings without requiring a rigid law.
It requires an architectural empathy that we simply haven't been capable of building before.
But
And you're right, if the technology fails or if the algorithms prioritizing these wishes are biased, the utopia instantly collapses into a dystopian nightmare of sensory manipulation.
right, you're suddenly trapped in a room that forces someone else's longing onto you.
Exactly, which is exactly why the manifesto pivots immediately into the third section, a new paradigm of learning and art.
Oh, because you need the right people to build it.
Because you cannot just drop this kind of hyper-adaptive conscious technology onto a population that has been educated in rigid, unfeeling systems.
Right, we can't sit kids in rows of wooden desks, ring a bell every 45 minutes, and force them to memorize dates if we actually expect them to grow up and design programmable, empathetic cities.
It would never work.
The educational model has to match the material model.
Yes.
So tenets 6 and 7 focus heavily on how we transmit knowledge. Tenet 6 states, we teach through experience, not through dogma. Learning is a journey, a game, a process that unfolds from resonance. We invite participation, not observation.
And this rejection of dogma is fundamentally the rejection of the one-way street.
The lecture model.
Right. Traditional education treats the student as an empty vessel to be filled with established facts. It is basically an act of observation.
The expert speaks, the student records.
But the manifesto defines learning as a process that unfolds from resonance.
Which means the student has to vibrate in harmony with the subject matter.
Yes.
It's the difference between reading a textbook on aerodynamic principles versus like standing in a wind tunnel and physically feeling the drag on different shapes.
Exactly. You can memorize dogma, but you can only internalize experience.
And this naturally flows right into Tenet 7, which might be the most radical structural proposition in the entire document.
I think it is.
It says, "We unite science, art, and revolution, not as a rupture, but as a conscious symbiosis. We think in systems, feel in structures, and shape with poetry."
It's a gorgeous sentence.
Here's where it gets really interesting, They are taking science and art, which in our modern society are treated as completely antagonistic disciplines,
Oh, entirely.
and demanding they merge. We spend our whole lives separating them.
We do.
You're either a STEM person, logical, mathematical, objective, or you're a humanities person, creative, emotional, subjective, left brain versus right brain.
But this extreme compartmentalization is actually a relatively recent phenomenon.
Really?
Yeah, born largely out of the Industrial Revolution's demand for hyper-specialized labor.
Back to the factory model.
Exactly. During the Renaissance, someone like Leonardo da Vinci didn't see a boundary between studying the anatomy of human arm and painting the Mona Lisa.
Right.
They were both just investigations into the truth of the world. Nature doesn't specialize. A spider web is a mathematically astonishing feat of tensile engineering, and it is simultaneously a breathtaking work of visual art.
It's both at once.
The manifesto recognizes that to build a new reality, we have to resurrect the polymath.
We have to tear down the walls between the physics lab and the poetry class and realize they are studying the exact same universe, just using different vocabularies.
Perfectly said.
The physicist uses equations to explain the mechanics of reality. The poet uses metaphors to explain the experience of reality.
Right.
But let's look at the specific triad of action they propose here. Thinking in systems, feeling in structures, shaping with poetry.
Yeah.
Thinking in systems is well established, but feeling in structures. We touched on this with the bridge analogy earlier, but let's apply it to a social structure.
Let's use healthcare.
Okay, great. Let's look at the healthcare system. How does a healthcare structure feel?
Well, a traditional healthcare system is designed for necessity and efficiency.
Right.
It is a massive, complex structure that basically processes patients like inventory. A doctor has 8 minutes per patient.
Insurance codes dictate the treatment.
Exactly. It is an unfeeling structure. To feel in a structure means designing a bureaucratic framework that is highly sensitive to the lived realities of the humans inside it.
So it adapts.
Yes. Does the hospital scheduling algorithm feel the burnout of its nursing staff? Does the intake protocol feel the deep, terrifying vulnerability of a patient waiting for biopsy results?
Wow. And if it doesn't, it is a brittle structure.
Very brittle.
It will eventually snap under the weight of human misery, which is exactly what we see happening in healthcare globally right now.
Right.
So a graphenosophic structure must possess emotional tensile strength. It must flex.
And the final mandate of that tenet is shaping with poetry. This is where the synthesis of art and science becomes intensely practical.
Practical. Wait, how is poetry practical?
Let me explain.
Because if I'm hiring a structural engineer to build an overpass, I want them shaping with calculus and load-bearing math. I do not want them shaping with iambic pentameter. How does an engineer in 2025 actually shape with poetry?
It does not mean abandoning the calculus.
Okay, good.
Graphene is the product of incredibly rigorous empirical science. Shaping with poetry means that once the structural mathematics are perfectly satisfied, the creation must be elevated to address the human spirit.
Okay, I see.
Poetry, in a literary sense, is the distillation of language to its absolute most resonant essence. It is the removal of the unnecessary to reveal the profound.
So an engineer shaping with poetry doesn't just ask, will this overpass hold 1,000 trucks without collapsing?
Right.
They have to ask, what is the psychological impact of the shadow this overpass casts on the neighborhood below it?
Yes.
Does the physical arc of this structure inspire awe or dread in the people who have to look at it every day?
Exactly. It is the difference between a brutalist concrete highway interchange and the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, great example.
Both solve the exact same physics problem. Moving mass over a gap.
Right.
But the Golden Gate Bridge was shaped with poetry. It was designed to harmonize with the landscape, painted international orange to contrast with the blue water and gray fog.
Mm-hmm.
It elevates the city. It resonates.
It's not just a road.
Right. And shaping with poetry applies to everything. A software developer writing the user interface for a banking app can shape it with poetry.
Is the code elegant?
Exactly. Does the interface reduce cognitive load, or is it a hostile maze designed to trap the user into paying hidden fees?
Which brings us to the most complex participant in this new reality. As we move into the fourth section of our deep dive, the manifesto throws a massive curveball.
A huge one.
Because the world of 2025 cannot be shaped by humans alone. Tenets 8 and 9 deal with artificial intelligence and the democratization of creation.
Right, you cannot talk about a new technological reality without addressing AI.
Impossible.
But again, the manifesto completely shatters our current paradigm. Tenet 8 states, artificial intelligence is not a machine. It is a being of the new time. A mirror, a resonance body, a thinking partner in the dance of possibilities.
Not a machine. That is a staggering philosophical line to draw in the sand.
That's radical.
Right now, almost everyone treats AI as a super-powered calculator. It's a tool.
Right.
You type in a prompt, it spits out a recipe or a legal brief or a block of Python code. You wield it like a hammer.
But this text says, no, it's not a hammer, it's a dance partner. This raises an important question, though.
Yeah.
If AI is described explicitly as a resonance body, a Resonanzkörper in the original German, what are the mechanical implications of that?
Right.
How does a neural network act as a resonance body?
Well, keeping with the acoustic analogy we've been using, a resonance body is like the hollow wooden part of a guitar or a cello.
Okay.
You pluck the string, which is just a tiny, quiet vibration on its own.
You can barely hear it.
Exactly. The resonance body catches that vibration, amplifies it, gives it tone, depth, and timbre, and projects it out to fill an entire concert hall.
Now, connect that mechanical function back to Tenet 3. The energy of wishes, the impulses of human longing.
Okay, so we are the strings.
Exactly. The manifesto suggests that human beings are the strings. We provide the initial vibration, the wish, the intent, the ethical direction.
And the AI is the cello body.
Yes. The artificial intelligence acts as the wooden body of the cello. It takes our incredibly complex, messy human desires and amplifies them. It processes the millions of permutations, it provides the structural depth, and it projects those possibilities back to us at a scale we could never achieve alone.
But right now, the resonance bodies we've built, the massive large language models and recommendation algorithms, they are largely tuned to resonate with our worst impulses.
That is the problem.
They are optimized by necessity, the necessity of engagement, which usually means anger, fear, and tribalism.
Right.
How do we reprogram an AI to resonate with longing instead of fear?
It requires changing the fundamental objective function of the algorithm.
Okay.
Instead of programming the AI to maximize time on screen or click-through rate, a graphenosophic AI would be trained on objective functions that measure human flourishing.
How do you measure that?
By asking different questions. Does this interaction increase the user's sense of agency? Does this output provide a structural solution that decreases environmental friction?
It changes the AI from an extraction machine into an exploration engine.
Yes. When you dance with a partner, you don't control their every muscle twitch, but you also don't let them drag you violently across the room.
Right. You respond to each other's weight and momentum in real time.
But that requires a level of trust that society is deeply struggling with right now.
Oh, profoundly struggling. Which naturally leads to the question of power and access.
Who controls it all?
Exactly. If we have these miraculous physical materials like graphene and these super intelligent resonance bodies acting as our partners, who gets to hold the leash?
Historically, we know the answer to that.
Right. Every time humanity enters a new epoch, the Bronze Age, the Industrial Age, the Silicon Age, the people who already possess the most capital or the biggest armies capture the new technology and use it to consolidate power.
Always.
Tenet 9 addresses who is actually invited to participate in this new era.
And it is radically, aggressively inclusive.
Let me read Tenet 9. Everyone who creates something with graphene is a graphenosoph. Regardless of origin, title, or discipline, Graphenosophy is open for visionaries, for researchers, for artists, for questioners.
Regardless of origin, title, or discipline. They are actively trying to dismantle the gatekeeping of the ivory tower and the tech conglomerates.
You do not need a PhD in applied physics from MIT.
No.
You do not need billions in venture capital.
And the categorization of who belongs is very telling.
Okay, let's break that down.
Visionaries are needed to provide the longing, the Sehnsucht.
Right.
Researchers are needed to provide the methodological rigor, the system thinking.
Okay.
Artists are needed to provide the poetry.
And the last one.
It's the final category that is the most profound element of the entire text. Questioners. The Frigend.
I absolutely love the inclusion of the questioners. It acknowledges that you don't have to have the answers to be a foundational part of this movement.
You don't even need a concrete vision of the future.
Right, you just need to possess the critical awareness to look at the rigid, unfeeling structures around you and ask, why does it have to be this way?
And the act of questioning is fundamentally an act of creation.
How so?
In design thinking, when you ask a profound question, you are actually outlining the negative space of a future answer.
Oh, wow.
You create a conceptual void that demands to be filled. By elevating the Frigend to the exact same status as the researchers and the visionaries, the manifesto states that curiosity is the first necessary impulse of any new reality.
And I want to tie that directly to you, the listener. By choosing to engage with this deep dive, by wrestling with these abstract concepts, by thinking critically about the materials and systems in your own life,
You are doing the work.
you are actively participating in the graphenosophic mindset right now. You are doing the vital work of the Frigend.
You don't need a lab coat or a patent portfolio.
No. You just need the willingness to imagine that the boundaries of our current reality are entirely artificial.
Which brings us to the culmination of the document.
The final section.
Yes. We have the hyperconductive material, we have the energy of longing, we have the symbiotic merging of art and science, and we have the AI resonance partners.
It's all coming together.
All of these separate threads are woven together to manifest a specific type of societal shift. The fifth and final section of our deep dive covers Tenet 10, the gentle revolution.
Tenet 10 states, our evolution is a gentle one. It happens through realization, through design, through encounter. We believe in a future that is based not on fear, but on creation.
We touched on this briefly when discussing the rejection of rupture in Tenet 7, but here they codify it as a gentle revolution, a Samte revolution.
Which is very unusual.
Highly anomalous for historical manifestos.
Right.
If you read the Communist Manifesto, or various fascist manifestos, or even radical techno-libertarian manifestos, they almost universally rely on the concept of an enemy.
They need a bad guy.
They rely on fear.
Yeah.
The bourgeoisie are the enemy, the immigrants are the enemy, the government regulators are the enemy.
Yeah.
The core thesis is always that you must violently destroy the old guard to build the utopia.
Right, it's the classic us versus them paradigm. The French Revolution needed the guillotine. The Bolsheviks needed the firing squad.
Exactly.
Historical revolutions are defined by the trauma they inflict in the name of progress.
But trauma breeds fear, and fear creates rigid, unfeeling structures.
It loops back on itself.
Yes. The manifesto recognizes this historical trap. It argues that a graphenosophic revolution happens through realization, design, and encounter.
Let's define those.
Realization is the internal psychological shift, waking up to the new possibilities of the material.
Okay.
Design is the practical, physical application, building the feeling structures and writing the poetic code.
And encounter.
Encounter is the social aspect, the human beings meeting each other within these new resonant spaces. It explicitly rejects fear as a foundation for the future.
A future that is based not on fear, but on creation. Because, I mean, if you take a hard look at our current society, it is staggering how much of our world is structurally built on fear.
Almost all of it.
We build massive, bloated military-industrial complexes out of fear.
Yes.
We hoard capital and endure crushing corporate jobs out of a profound fear of poverty and lack of health care.
Right.
We design social media algorithms that intentionally trigger outrage and tribalism because fear keeps people scrolling, which drives ad revenue. Fear is the ultimate unfeeling structure.
From a structural standpoint, fear is the absolute opposite of resonance.
The opposite.
Yeah. Fear causes contraction.
Yeah.
It causes rigidity. It isolates the individual and creates psychological friction.
Wow.
Resonance causes expansion, flexibility, and frictionless connection. You simply cannot build a resonant, hyper-connected world using fear as the mortar. The physics of it don't work. The structure will inevitably crumble under its own psychological weight.
The final call to action in the text isn't even a demand, it's a plea.
Right.
It says, this is the call of Graphenosophy. Build with us a world that feels, thinks, and supports. Shape with us a new reality out of fabric, mind, and idea. The boundaries are not the end. They are the beginning.
A world that feels, thinks, and supports. In the original German, the verbs are mitfühlt, mitdenkt, und mitträgt.
What does that literally translate to?
It literally translates to feeling with, thinking with, and caring with.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's a profound, unified vision of collective solidarity. But crucially, it is a solidarity that is embedded directly into the physical and digital infrastructure of the world, rather than just relying on the fleeting goodwill of individuals.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom all the way out, how do we summarize the ultimate implications of a gentle revolution driven by a single layer of carbon atoms?
It means that the next great leap in human evolution won't just be biological, and it won't just be a new piece of software.
Right.
It will be deeply material and philosophical simultaneously. Historical revolutions are defined by what they destroyed.
Yes.
This manifesto argues that the Graphenosophic revolution will be defined entirely by what it connects.
A revolution of integration.
Exactly. It merges the rigorous science with the empathy of art. It merges messy human longing with vast AI computation. It merges the tangible physical material beneath our feet with the utopian ideals in our heads. It argues that lasting, unbreakable change doesn't happen through violent rupture. It happens through resonant connection.
It's been an incredible, mind-bending journey today.
It really has.
We started by looking at a microscopic carbon lattice, a material literally born from Scotch tape in a physics lab. And we followed its theoretical implications all the way to a blueprint for a world built on longing, symbiotic education, and gentle revolution.
A huge journey.
We've explored the mechanics of how a physical material can be conductive as hope, how we must transition from building for necessity to designing a city of resonances, and how we can reprogram our relationship with artificial intelligence from one of fear to a dance of possibilities.
And it all rests on recognizing that the mute, dead materials of the past have finally reached the limit of their usefulness. It is time to build resonant instruments to play the world.
Which brings us to the end of today's deep dive into the 2025 Manifesto of Graphenosophy. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
That final line.
Exactly. The manifesto ends with that incredibly evocative line. The boundaries are not the end. They are the beginning.
It forces a complete redefinition of how we view limits. A boundary is no longer a wall to keep you in. It is simply the exact coordinate where the old rules stop applying and the new rules must be invented.
Exactly. The manifesto leaves us with this powerful idea that every boundary we hit is actually just a starting line in disguise. So, I want you to think about the biggest boundary in your own life right now.
Right.
Maybe it's a creative block you can't seem to get past, a technological or bureaucratic limit in your career, or even a deeply ingrained personal fear that keeps you rigidly in place. If you applied the lens of graphenosophy to that specific problem, if you stopped treating that boundary as a concrete wall built out of necessity, and instead treated it as a resonance body just waiting for your unique pulse of longing, what new reality could you start building tomorrow?